On today's episode, our first installment of Merrell Mutter Moments with Sue Harvey-Brown and Francis Lackner.
This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mutter. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Welcome to World's Toughest Podcast. Thank you for listening. You are listening to the number one rated OCR podcast in the world because of listeners like you. Thank you for rating and reviewing the show so kindly on Apple Podcasts. On today's show, we're going to talk with Francis Lackner and Sue Harvey-Brown. At Toughest Mudder Chicago in 2017, Francis and Ryan Cray spent about 6 hours of the 8 on top of Everest, helping runners avoid the 3/4 of a mile penalty. If it were not for Francis and Ryan, I would not have been able to hit my goal at Toughest Mudder Chicago. Toughest Mudder Chicago was my best race of 2017. Before we talk with Francis, we're going to talk with Sue Harvey-Brown from Merrell for a minute. We are doing a new thing with them this year, and it will be cool. Sue and I are going to talk about Merrell Mutter Moments. Before we start, you can email me at willhicks@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Toughest Podcast, and you can find us on Instagram at World's Toughest Podcast. Those are new social accounts on Twitter and Instagram. Toughest Podcast on Twitter and World's Toughest Podcast on Instagram. You can be a part of the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, and I will read it on a future episode. And you can subscribe to our World's Toughest newsletter and enter to win a free pair of Merrell trail running shoes by texting the word tough to the number 22828. That's the word tough to the number 22828. You can also subscribe via email. Check the show notes for details. We are going to talk some Tough Mudder news in a minute, but I'm about to lead with a story that is mature in nature. If you have kids in the car, you may want to listen without them first. This is by far the worst news I have ever shared on the show. I'm not joking. It's not a bit. Now's your chance to skip ahead a few minutes if you would like. It's about a topic kids should probably be aware of, but it would be better coming from you, their parent, than me, a guy who talks from mommy's phone. That's your heads up.
Tragedy at the Veterans Home of California in Yountville. 3 women hostages and a gunman dead. The nearly 8-hour standoff with police apparently started when the suspect barged into a going-away party.
They were having cake and, toasting and all that, and then apparently he just walked in with this rifle.
The 3 victims were employees of the Pathway Home, a counseling service for veterans located on the campus of the nation's largest veterans home. They helped veterans who suffered with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
This is a tragic piece of news, one that we were really hoping we wouldn't have to come before the public to give.
Authorities have identified the victims as 42-year-old Jennifer Golick, Pathway Home Clinical Director, 48-year-old Christine Lober, Executive Director, and 29-year-old Jennifer Gonzalez, a clinical psychologist. In a statement, Pathway Home said these brave women were accomplished professionals who dedicated their careers to serving our nation's veterans.
There were 3 wonderful, professional, talented young women who get up every morning and go to work to help veterans, and sadly they're gone.
Thanks to CNN for the audio. That happened on March 9th, a few days ago as I record this. Dr. Jennifer Golick was one of the 3 women killed. She was a member of the Tough Mudder community and was looking forward to a busy year on the course. She was planning on running 5 Tough Mudders this year, along with Toughest Mudder South near Austin, Texas. I didn't know Jen personally, but we had talked over Facebook a few times. The most recent was on March 7th, 2 days before she was killed. I had posted the course map for Tough Mudder New Orleans on our Facebook page. It had a picture of the course and where each obstacle would be, and I had written out all the obstacles for the course. She noticed something I missed and commented on the post. She said, "Interesting, no Arctic enema in New Orleans." And I hadn't noticed that. And I wrote the thing up. I told her, "Nice catch." And I wonder why that is. She commented back to me, "And no pork soda? Will we ever know what that was about?" Pork soda was an obstacle on the course map for Toughest Mudder LA. It's a new obstacle that no one has seen yet. We think it's a toughest exclusive obstacle. When LA got canceled, no one got a chance to do the obstacle. So, and no pork soda? When will we ever know what that was about? I said, it doesn't look like until May 5th at Toughest Mudder South in Texas. And the last thing she ever said to me was, "Well, I'll be there, so I'll report back." Jen was planning on running the Sacramento Tough Mudder in a few weeks. She was part of Team Muddy Knuckles 2.0, and Sacramento would be her husband's first Tough Mudder ever. Members of the community are now talking about what to do in her honor at that race, or at that event. Maddie Gregg is involved in those discussions. Maddie is a longtime member of the World's Toughest community. Maddie wrote a nice post on Facebook letting the community know what had happened and honoring Jen. And in that post, in the comments, Jason Lackner and his wife Karen commented, they were on Team Muddy Knuckles with Jen. They will be running Tough Mudder Sacramento to honor their friend. Karen said they are likely to be a hot mess out there, so they will need some muddy hugs and love. I got a message from Christine Megumi. Christine knew Jen through Tough Mudder. They were going to share a wetsuit between them for Toughest Mudder. Christine was going to wear it at Toughest Mudder West, and Jen was going to wear it at Toughest Mudder South. Christine told me that she and Jen were talking the other day about how Jen loves our podcast. And that makes me happy and sad at the same time. If you would like to help with the Golick family's expenses at this time, there is a GoFundMe page set up. You can find a link on most of the Tough Mudder Facebook groups or on our Facebook page at facebook.com/World's Toughest Pod. When I find out about what people will be doing in her memory at Sacramento or at other events, I will pass it along to you, either here on the podcast or on our social channels. Jen's family still with us includes her husband of 18 years and their 8-year-old daughter. We're going to talk more about Jen on a future episode. I'd like to talk with some people that know her best, and it's just too soon. I don't want to cause any more pain than they are already going through. Dr. Jennifer Golick, dead at 42. How do you transition from that? How do I talk about the rest of the show? In other Tough Mudder news, you may have heard the first event weekend of 2018 was canceled. You may have heard because it's the only thing we talked about last week. The entire Tough Mudder weekend in LA was canceled due to safety concerns after excessive rainfall. Everything from Puppy Mudder all the way to Toughest Mudder was canceled. We talked last week about what Tough Mudder's options might be for rescheduling Toughest Mudder. In addition to me talking about it, a few guys did something about it and emailed Team HQ and asked them about it. Scott Weaver, Sam Ollinger, and John Hobson, independently of each other, emailed Team HQ and got similar responses. Here's what Team HQ sent Scott Weaver. At this time, Tough Mudder is not planning on rescheduling the Toughest Mudder West event. If we do make any plans, we will email all participants. Team HQ. They told Sam Ollinger the same thing, but they added a line to his email. If you are unable to make another event this year, you are welcome to hold on to your ticket and transfer it to an event next year or refund the registration. John Hobson asked them specifically about the two venues we talked about last week, NorCal and Vegas. Team HQ told John, at this time there will not be an America's Toughest Mudder in NorCal or Las Vegas. If that changes, we will email you and let you know. So a couple things from those Team HQ emails. When Team HQ says, at this time we're not planning on rescheduling, or at this time anything, you need to take it with a grain of salt. At this time, my daughter will not have a birthday party next year. But I'll bet you when it rolls around, there's going to be balloons, and there's going to be cake, and there's going to be a living unicorn or something. But at this time, we have no plans for a birthday party. Also from those emails, it looks like Team HQ is doing right by everyone who bought a ticket for last week. Obviously, they would prefer you transfer your ticket to another Toughest Mudder, but if you can't make it to another venue, you are welcome to get a refund. So that's what they're saying publicly right now. But privately, you know they are talking about rescheduling. Either Toughest at another venue or rescheduling the whole weekend somewhere near Los Angeles. I've also heard Team HQ is floating the idea of doing Toughest Mudder during the daytime at a site in Northern California. Northern California would be fine, but doing the 8 hours during the day is not a great idea. It's better than nothing. It's better than no Toughest Mudder west of Texas, but it's not ideal. Doing an 8-hour race during the daytime isn't Toughest Mudder, it's tough-ish Mudder. Brandon Walrich posted an email from Team HQ support team where they offered to transfer his registration to Toughest Mudder East in Boston. But if Toughest Mudder West is rescheduled, they'll transfer it back again to Toughest Mudder West. So we know internally they're having conversations about rescheduling. It's probably not going to happen, but it might. If I had to put a percentage on it, I would say there is a 40% chance Toughest Mudder West gets rescheduled. With Tough Mudder LA off the calendar, the first Tough Mudder of the 2018 season will be Tough Mudder New Orleans on March 17th and 18th. New Orleans was the first Tough Mudder of the year last year also, with LA as the second. It's been LA or New Orleans as the first up for several years now. After New Orleans, on March 17th and 18th, Arizona and Sacramento will both have events on March 24th and 25th. Arizona has tougher full and half options on Saturday. Sunday is all 5K all of the time. Sacramento has tougher full, half, and 5K options on Saturday. Sunday is the first of 3 1-mile TMX races. Sacramento on March 25th, TMX, Miami on April 8th. Those are the two open events, Sacramento and Miami. Anyone can sign up to compete. The top 10 men and top 10 women from the two open races will face off at the TMX Championships in Virginia on June 8th. The top open qualifiers will compete with other elite athletes based on the strength of prior athletic performance at recognized events from all across the athletic spectrum. Like last year, TMX will be televised by CBS. Air dates are July 14th, July 21st, and July 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Put those in the calendar now and check your local listings. Course maps for all those events, Tough Mudder New Orleans, Tough Mudder Arizona, and Tough Mudder Sacramento, are available at toughmudder.com or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/World's Toughest Pod. As I'm recording this, the TMX course map is not yet available. It's interesting to look at the 5K map for Sacramento. 3.1 miles, 9 obstacles. One of them is Block Ness Monster, arguably the best obstacle Tough Mudder has ever made. As we've discussed before, the finisher obstacle will be Happy Ending for all of the Not a Race But a Challenge events, Tough Mudder Full, Tough Mudder Half, and Tough Mudder 5K. They will all finish with Happy Ending instead of electroshock therapy or another obstacle. Before we talk with our guests, let's read some iTunes reviews. Our first review comes from the U.S. Sonic Barber writes, "Great resource for anyone interested in OCR. 5 stars. Will does an amazing job covering all the WTM news and getting great insight from the community and elites alike. Not only is this a great podcast, packed full of useful information for all levels of OCR enthusiasts, but its audio quality is best in category by a considerable margin. Highly recommended for anyone curious about WTM or OCR in general." Thank you, Sonic Barber, for those kind words. One thing you mentioned is something I don't really talk about because, to be honest, it's kind of boring. But audio quality is hard. It's tricky. It's kind of like the referee at a football game. You only notice when it's bad. Thank you for that review. Our last review comes from Jessica Lister, mother of Zach, age 9, Alex, age 8, and Allie, age 6. Zach, Alex, and Allie say,
5 stars!
Jessica says, "Matt and I are avid listeners of the podcast and don't miss a single one. We absolutely love it. You do such a great job informing everyone of what is going on in the Tough Mudder world. You keep things funny and entertaining, and we really look forward to each new episode. We have 3 kids, Zach, 9, Alex, 8, and Allie, 6, that get the biggest kick out of the 5 stars and the Christopher Mendoza jingle. They wanted me to send you their best version of 5 stars because we think your podcast is 5 stars. Thanks for everything that you do for the Tough Mudder community. We hope to see you and everyone else at the next toughest event. Jess and Matt Lister." Thank you, Jessica and Matt. Matt ran 50 miles at Toughest Mudder Chicago last year. He finished on the podium with Ryan Atkins and Tyler Nash. Matt was planning on running Toughest Mudder last week, but he didn't. No one did. Zach, Alex, and Allie, make sure your dad keeps training. Don't let him sleep in late on a Saturday or anything. Well done, Lister family. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts also. Just open the Purple Podcast app and search for Tough Mudder. We're the first one that pops up. Click our logo and scroll down to click on Write a Review, and I will read it on a future episode. You can also leave a review on your computer through iTunes. Just search Tough Mudder in the iTunes store and scroll down to our logo. Click our logo, click Ratings and Reviews, and click Write a Review. I would appreciate it. It's time to talk with our guests, Sue Harvey-Brown and Francis Lackner. We'll talk with Sue first. Sue is the liaison between Tough Mudder and Merrell. Many times over the past few years, there's been something that happened, maybe something bad, and Merrell, led by Sue, has stepped in to help. From something as serious as when Ian Panter was in a car accident leaving Tough Mudder Philadelphia last year, to something not as serious but still important, like providing the prizing for the 2-man classic team category at World's Toughest Mudder last year. Sue and I don't talk about it on our phone call, but I am sure they will have a part in whatever happens at Tough Mudder Sacramento to honor Jen Golick. Merrell's participation in the community isn't just when it's bad news, though. They work with many elite athletes, supporting them with product and sponsoring them. They are at every Tough Mudder event with their large orange tent and a demo area where you can try on the Merrell Tough Mudder shoes, like the All Out Crush 2.0s that I have a pair of. They're sitting on my floor as I record this. If you like them, if you like the shoes you try on at the tent, you can buy them right before you run and wear them out on the course. Merrell and World's Toughest Podcast are debuting a new program together, and we are announcing it this episode. It is called Merrell Mudder Moments, and Sue will explain it in a few minutes. Francis Lackner is a member of the World's Toughest Mudder community. He has competed twice at Worlds and pitted for Friends twice. You may recognize him out on a Tough Mudder course wearing a jolly red suit and carrying a 4-foot-tall plastic Santa. His plastic Santa has done more Tough Mudders than me. It's time to talk with Sue Harvey-Brown and Francis Lackner. Let's go to the phones. Sue Harvey-Brown, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Will Hicks. It's my pleasure. How are you?
I'm great. Sue, I want to talk about Merrell Mudder Moments, but first, tell me about your first World's Toughest Mudder.
My first World's Toughest Mudder. That was 2016, and I had the privilege of pit crewing for one of our ambassadors, Jason Anton. Some people may know Jason. He helped out Team Jesse at Chicago Toughest, and then Team Go Hard /Superman at World's Toughest Mudder. But we crewed, Simon Donato and I crewed for Jason, and he got 75 miles, which was fabulous. But I think what for me was it was my first time really exposed to the amazing community. Yes, I had been at previous Tough Mudders, but as everyone says, you know, until you really experience the magic of World's Toughest Mudder, you really haven't experienced the full magic of what Tough Mudder is and the community that it's created.
Working on pit crew is interesting because when you're running it, you're out there and it's obviously one experience, but in the pit crew, it's a totally different experience because you're 100% in the community the entire time.
Exactly. And it's something that honestly, when I had an opportunity to run this year and learned that I wasn't going to be able to run 24 hours, I thought, you know what, I'm still fine. I get to spend 12 hours in the pit supporting people and interacting with people and just hanging out. And it's as I said earlier, it's magical. And it was so much fun because our pit was right next to E-Rock and Coach. And so you can just imagine those antics that were happening during their pit stops. It was quite comical.
Those guys are funny because they're clearly funny in their videos, but they're really like that in real life.
Oh, they're really like that. I mean, that energy, that enthusiasm, that love for the community, and that spontaneity is totally there. And it made for some very funny moments throughout the night. And then we also, our big orange tent was also the pit for quite a few mudders in the community. Darth Vader, Francis Lackner, Harley, and Michael Bever, and I'm going to forget a few people, and I'm really sorry that I'm forgetting you, but that also made for an interesting evening as well. But their goal was to kind of be the sweepers, just to be out there helping people get through obstacles. And I think for me, I got to see so many different sides in terms of E-Rock and Coach going for 50 miles in honor of a dear friend of Coach's. And then these guys going out there and also being selfless and just helping others get through the obstacles and setting their goals aside to make sure that other people could reach theirs. And that to me was just a huge reflection of the amazing people that are part of the Tough Mudder community.
So you got to pit in 2016, and then in 2017, I saw you out there running.
Yes. Yes, that was, unfortunately, I didn't get to run all 24 hours, but due to a work obligation in Miami, but I had the honor of being out in course for about 12 hours and just was so happy to be out there. So the fact that, you know, all the obstacles were open and the penalties were pretty brutal just honestly didn't faze me. I was just so happy to see people in the community, the friends that I had, the friendships that I had created over the last 2 years, being out on course with them and being able to see them. It was pretty special and just fun to see people, again, reach their goals or adjust their goals along the way and be okay with it, because it was a brutal course out there.
So this is Merrell and World's Toughest Podcast's second year working together. Last year, we gave away a pair of shoes each month to a listener, and we're doing that again this year, but we're also doing something new for 2018.
Yes, we are. So when we jumped on the phone about a month ago or so, Will, you, John, and I were trying to brainstorm some additional ways that we could partner. And while the shoe giveaways are great, and it's been great exposure for Merrell, and we appreciate your support, we really wanted something that added value for your listeners. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I enjoy the race recaps, the Team HQ updates, the interviews with athletes. They have been, honestly, and you can see through a lot of the reviews you get, instrumental in a lot of people's success at World's Toughest Mudder. But recently, I've really enjoyed the stories about people in the community. And there are some amazing things that happen on the course because of the selfless acts of others. And so why not have people share their favorite Mudder moments with your listeners? And so this is a great chance for people to give a shout out to someone. The people involved get a chance to share the experience, and your listeners get a chance to hear an inspiring story from the community. And so, yes, of course, those selected will get a pair of Merrell shoes. But for us, it's really more about celebrating the people who help and inspire others.
So every other month, we're going to feature a Merrell Mudder moment, and listeners can email their stories to World's Toughest Podcast at gmail.com with Merrell Mudder moment in the subject line or MMM in the subject line. And in the email, in the body of the email, just tell your story. What happened to you at Tough Mudder that inspired you or changed you? Or what did you do at Tough Mudder because of something that happened in your life? What is that moment that will stick with you? Maybe for the rest of your life. Sue, do you have a favorite moment to share?
I most definitely do. I mean, there's been so many moments, honestly, over the last 2 years. But I have to say my favorite so far was Chicago Toughest Mudder, when Ryan Cray and Francis Lackner sat on top of Everest for hours and hours helping people achieve their goals. I know many people, including myself, and I think you mentioned it on one of your podcasts as well, we wouldn't have been able to achieve our goals without them, because that penalty was a long penalty. And listeners have heard some of the story. What makes this a Merrell Mudder moment for me is not necessarily that moment itself, but Francis's journey that led to that moment. And while I could share some of that with you, I really think the story is best coming from Francis himself.
That's a great segue. It's time to talk with Francis Lackner. Let's go to the phones.
5 stars.
Francis Lackner, thanks for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Francis, I want to talk about World's Toughest Mudder in a second, but first, tell me about Santa Claus.
All right. Well, he's this jolly fellow that travels the world and delivers presents to all the good girls and boys.
You know what I mean.
I do, but you have to ask the right questions.
Tell me about your Tough Mudder running mate, Santa Claus.
All right. So back in 2015, I was running the Virginia Tough Mudder with some Tough Mudder people, friends, and on course on Sunday, there was a large plastic Santa, and we were kind of joking around of, should we take him, should we not take him? Nobody took him. And just prior to that, I was carrying a bag of ice, so I thought, and it had melted, so I thought, why not carry the Santa? While I was carrying him, I thought it was a pretty fitting idea that he be a kind of a Christmas wish for me of having my mom be cancer-free if I kept carrying him. throughout the rest of the course and kind of kept carrying him on after that. So we finished the course, and Tough Mudder actually said that was their Santa. But then I had the thought of, I want to keep carrying him. And so I tried to keep finding him at other events. And they actually, Tough Mudder lost the original Santa for a while. So I had enough of them losing Santa, so I then got my own Santa and have been carrying him ever since. And so the idea was that with my Christmas wish of my mom being cancer-free, it hoped to kind of bring a happiness and a joy to everybody on course. Because sometimes in the long miles of either a double lap day or dreary weather or whatever it might be, sometimes it can put a smile on people's face to see this 5-foot tall plastic Santa bobbing through a field.
So you had to adopt the Santa like brand new every time for the first few times you ran with him.
I ran with the original Tough Mudder Santa for, I believe it was 4 events. Kept adding to his headband count, and then from there on, I carried my own. Sometimes there were 2 Santas on course because the original Santa would meet up with my Santa.
So how many events has your Santa done? Like, what color is his headband?
He has done 39 Tough Mudders.
And you've been with them for every one?
Yes.
Sometimes you wear a clever outfit on course too. Tell me about the clothes.
This is for my 50th Tough Mudder weekend. I thought to myself of, or actually, no, sorry about that. It was for Halloween in 2016. Halloween basically ran on a Tough Mudder weekend in North Carolina, and I thought to myself, I don't really want to wear a Halloween costume, so I'll wear a Santa suit. So Santa can encroach on Halloween now. So I bought a suit and I wore it on course, and it was kind of that spurred off the idea of wearing goofy suits during a Tough Mudder event. So I've worn Santa suits of varying varieties. Usually for St. Patrick's Day, I wear a shamrock or clover suit. And just kind of try and make it fun. Try and make it more professional, more fancy.
Tell me about your first World's Toughest Mudder.
First World's Toughest Mudder. Well, that was in 2015. And it didn't go as planned at all, as I know many people's goals for a World's Toughest Mudder go. But that September, I actually had an injury at Tough Mudder, Wisconsin, and I developed a bad case of runner's knee in both of my knees. Didn't really heal up too well before Worlds, especially with only about 2 months to spare. So I only got 30 miles, but it was still one of the best experiences I've had. And that kind of helped me realize some of the things of wanting to help people more than trying to have a goal for myself. My goal is 50 miles, as many, many people have for a goal for World's Toughest, either 50 or better. And some friends that I was running with, they were having problems as well. And I very early on decided that it was more important for me to help other people achieve their best than me achieve a numerical goal that I didn't quite care too much about. I kept going, and then my knees started to kind of remind me that they weren't going to be able to go on too much further. And I took a pause in the pit for a while, I tried to nap a bit, walked around, helped cheer people up where I could, and then went out for one last lap with a bunch of people, kind of as that normal Sunday fun day. But tried to grab people that not only were my friends, but also they may have been struggling. and we had fun. We made sure everyone got over all the obstacles, was safe. And then at the finish line, I actually had my mom and my dad Skyped in, and so that way they could see me across the finish line, because she wasn't strong enough to come out and visit and see me in person, but she still got to see me across the finish line. And in 15, I flew out to Worlds from Chicago, and I couldn't bring Santa with me, so I bought Mini Santa, which is actually a dog squeaky toy, and he was with me during all of Worlds 2015, and has actually done a bunch of other events as well.
What was that like, crossing the finish line with your mom and dad watching you?
It was pretty fantastic. I had been talking to them about it a lot, and it was a big deal, and not just for them to see me, but it was also a big deal because at that time, with my mom's first bout with cancer, she had pretty much just gone into remission 5 days prior to that. So it was a nice celebration for her, for myself, for the family to, we're all succeeding something, and it was really a tremendous joy.
You said that year you found more joy or more fulfillment from helping people out there on the course. How did that play out? Was it encouragement? Was it, staying at an obstacle for a while and helping them over? What did that look like on course?
It was usually either staying with someone when they were kind of in the depths of a night ops. So it was staying at an obstacle, or I actually had a friend of mine, he lost his headlamp and flasher. So back in 2015, they had a lot less lights illuminating the course. So there were some rather tricky bits in certain areas, and having a headlamp definitely would help to reduce twisted ankles or sprained ankles or anything. So stayed within there, was helping people over obstacles. Obstacles that I wasn't having as much challenge with, but other people were, and I didn't feel right just kind of getting up and over and not seeing them get over safely and continue on with the race that I know they could.
What do you wish you knew going into your first year at World's Toughest?
A better way to kind of help my knees stay together, be it braces or other training techniques, other ways I could have tried to recover and assist my knees at getting better.
Are your knees better now? Do you still struggle with
that? I don't struggle with it as much. I've always kind of had bad knees, so there's always a little bit of pain, but they are much stronger.
I've seen Deanna Blegg puts a knee brace on over her wetsuit sometimes. I haven't asked her about it. I don't know if she has any issues or not, but I know some people do wear braces out there.
Yeah, I wore knee braces a lot in 2015 and a little bit early on in 2016, but every Tough Mudder I go to, I always bring them with just in case. But so far, knock on wood, I haven't had too many issues.
2015 was your first year. How did your second year go in 2016?
2016 was even more emotional. I also feel that it was even more fun as well. I was part of an unofficial team that was assisted and somewhat sponsored by Merrell. We were Fire Team 1. It consisted of myself, Joe Van Tassel, Michael Bever, and Darth Vader. And the idea was we help each other get through the course, and we help as many people along the way as we can along the course. And part of the thing that we wanted to do was get Michael Bever out to World's Toughest Mudder. He's known as the sweeper for most of the Tough Mudder community, and I've learned a lot from him and from Joe and Darth of what it really means to make sure everyone completes the course and everybody's safe. And so we stayed together as a team, and we finished. But what was the most kind of emotional part of 2016 Worlds was my mom was actually able to come out. Even though she was actually in worse health physically, she came out to Worlds 2016, and I walked her across the finish line, marking her kind of second year of remission.
What was that like, having your mom out there for World's Toughest?
It was absolutely fantastic. I completely broke down, not just because it had been 24 hours, it had been the race, but it had been. It was so great seeing her up and moving and to celebrate this past year of remission, because she didn't want to celebrate it. She saw it as a somewhat not quite pointless celebration, but an event that doesn't mark much of anything. It's not the 5-year remission mark that everyone works towards. It's just the 1 year. And I kept telling her, no, it is a big deal. No, every day you're in remission is a big deal, and a full year of remission is fantastic. It's a great landmark. Walking her across the finish line really helped it kind of instill in her head that even though it had only been a year, or a little bit more than a year, it was a big deal.
What was the crowd's reaction when your mom crossed with you?
From the people close by to me, and the friends and family that were there, it was quite fantastic. My timing wasn't exactly the best, because right prior to that, I believe the female third place finisher had just crossed the finish line. So there was a little bit of commotion from Team HQ and the CBS team. But that didn't change the emotional aspect for myself or for my mom. And that's why I did it. I didn't do it for the fanfare for CBS or for anybody else to catch it. I did it for us.
Was she able to be in the pit for you overnight or during the day at all?
No, she actually, my dad and her, they came out Sunday morning to pretty much catch the last lap, as it were. So they were there from about 10:30 to the finish. But they still did get to see a lot of the energy, a lot of the excitement, and everything that comes from the event.
So you run a lot of Tough Mudders. What does your mom think, or did she ever say anything about this whole Tough Mudder thing?
She loved it. She was my number one fan. She always supported me doing it. Would always ask what event I went to. She loved to see pictures from it, see different people's faces that I had come to know and she had come to know over the years. So it was she always loved it. Always encouraged me to keep doing them, keep having fun. Yeah.
In June of 2017, your mom passed away.
Yes.
What was that like, going through that with your dad and with the Tough Mudder community?
It was rough. 2017 was a crap year for me. Not just from my mom passing away, but from other things going on in my life. And so her passing really has hit me hard. But a lot of the Tough Mudder community has helped me throughout the rough time that I've had, and has really been there for me over the years. I've developed a lot of close friendships, not just on the Tough Mudder course, but now off the Tough Mudder course. And without a lot of people, it would have been much harder. And not just for myself, but also for my dad. After my mom passing, he actually has come out to a couple more events now to spectate, to help see this community and to help kind of get him and out and about and seeing what this awesome community has done for me, but also what it's doing for him too.
How has the community helped your dad?
Welcomed him with open arms. I can't thank Sue and John from Merrell. That they've kind of just been there emotionally, and as Merrell kind of does, they're always two fantastically giving people in a giving organization. So that, little trinkets here and there, a coffee mug, a pair of socks. They're small little tokens, but they can definitely help brighten someone's day a lot.
Has your dad,
not to mention a pair of shoes.
Has your dad run a event yet?
He has not. I keep trying to get him to. He has said many times that he'll keep coming out and spectating, but he doesn't know if he'll run a Tough Mudder, and
sure.
So we'll see if I can get him out to actually do one or not.
We got a 5K now.
I know. There's more pressure on him for him not to say no now.
A few months after your mom passed away, you went to Toughest Mudder Chicago. You made a whole weekend of it. You ran Tougher on Saturday morning. You ran Toughest Saturday night, and you did the Tough Mudder Full on Sunday morning. First, tell me about that Tougher Mudder on Saturday morning.
It was good. The weather was just about perfect. Sun was shining. It wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. I had a personal friend run with me for his first Mudder. He ran the Tougher, then ran with friend Michael Bever and a couple other people that we run a bunch with, and we just kind of went out for a leisurely tougher Mudder. We didn't try and set blistering paces. We didn't try and do anything crazy. Really what we wanted to do is actually see the course to get an idea of what we might be expecting for the toughest Mudder that night. And we finished and kind of started resting. Just we hung out in the parking lot. We made a little hobo village with some tarps and just kind of relaxed, chilled.
Tell me about that night, Toughest Mudder Chicago. How did your race go?
For what the plan was, my goal was, like, again, with most toughest events, for a lot of people, the goal is 25 miles. Not so much always to get a patch or to get contender status, but for me, I wanted to do 25 miles more to improve over what I had done in Toughest Atlanta or Toughest South. And it went horribly. I was running with a couple of friends. We did, we were actually ahead of schedule a little bit for what we wanted for all of us to have 25 miles. So the first lap, the sprint lap went well. We were ahead of schedule, not by too much, but where we needed to be. And it was a good pace. And then, at about a mile and a half in on the second lap, I started to just emotionally break down. I was starting to get pains in my ankles, knees, and hips. And just I had really lost all ambition to kind of do anything with that event. It was just lost it completely. Kept going from obstacle to obstacle as needed, and it came across Everest or Grappler, whichever way you wanted to call that obstacle for Toughest Chicago. The team of people I was with, we all made it up, and we started helping a couple of people, just to be the good Tough Mudder community. And a little bit of a kind of a spark went off for me, and I told the guys I was with that I was going to stay around for a little while, help a couple more people that they should keep going, so that way they stay on pace. And Ryan Cray, who was running with me, decided that he was actually going to kick back and help out a little bit too. And from about 5 minutes went to 15 minutes, became half an hour, and the next thing we knew, we were there for a couple hours, and the joy of wanting to kind of stay in the event was there again. Because otherwise I knew if I went back to the pit, I was done. I was going to go turn in my timing chip and call it quits, go back to the parking lot and just sleep there till the next morning, or till the full on Sunday. And we actually stayed there till it was about 7:45. I want to say 7:30, 7:45, and then we left the obstacle and finished the race. But in total, we were there for, I think it was about 5.5 hours. It was that really kind of saved the event for me. I left the event feeling better about myself than I had in an event in a long time. Because achieving my best, I knew wasn't going to be possible. So if I could help other people achieve their best, and if they were only going for a 15-mile goal or a 50-mile goal, it didn't make any mind to me. It was reaching out and lending a helping hand to those that needed. And that was a hard obstacle, actually, for a lot of people at Chicago. Not just because of Everest normally being a challenge for people, but with the slight Chicago dew point, and then it actually starting to rain as the event went on, it became a big challenge for a lot of people. So having a helping hand to look forward to, I knew helped brighten a lot of people's days.
Not just that, the penalty was like half a mile or 3/4 of a mile long.
It was quite a long penalty, I heard.
Tell me about that emotional journey. You were, minutes from just quitting and just, giving up on the whole event to feeling better than you had. You said you felt better than you had in a long time in an event.
It was definitely an emotional roller coaster for me. I didn't quite know what to expect. It was kind of every hour Ryan and I kind of looked at one another and said, how are you feeling? I'm, doing okay. I need to switch arms. Hey, can you come over here and help? But I kept wanting to stay there. I actually never wanted to leave because I felt better about helping people up over that obstacle than I did about going and finishing in the end, what was 10 miles. Did I have more in my legs? Yeah. But to me, that none of that ever mattered. I didn't care about getting more miles in or getting another lap in or anything like that. It was emotionally getting to the point where I felt better about myself and knowing that my mom was proud of me, that I was helping out. I wasn't trying to do something just for myself. I got something out of it, but I was giving back.
You might have had more left in your legs, but I doubt you could have had much left in your arms or your upper body.
Yeah, my arms were a little sore. They were a bit tired, especially my shoulders. Those were actually what probably hurt the most. But every time I pulled somebody up, I may have had a little bit of pain right at the start, but then I saw their face as soon as they got up to the top, and their gratitude, either it was a high five, a handshake, a hug, whatever it may have been, a thank you. And that meant so much to me and kind of made me forget about whatever else I had going on.
So I ran Toughest Mudder Chicago, and it was my 4th toughest mudder of the year. And the best I had done up to Chicago was 20 miles in Atlanta. And the first time, I'm not a small person, so if there's like a girl on the top or one guy, I usually I'll take the penalty. I don't want to put them through pulling me over that wall. And After I took the penalty the first lap, I thought I cannot do that again. Like, if I want to make 25 miles here, I have to get up and over that wall. And by the time I came around the second time, you and Ryan were up there, and I think it was Ryan. He from the runner's point of view, I ran on the left to the left edge. At least once I know it was Ryan.
Yep. Yeah, Ryan stayed a little bit more to the left side, and I was a little bit more to the right side / in the middle. But we sometimes switched up depending upon which arm was hurting a little bit more at the time.
But man, without you guys up there, I would not have gotten 25. Like, I 100% owe my 25 miles to you guys being on top of that wall. So thank you.
And no problem. You're very welcome. Again, it was thanks to everybody that let me help them. Because again, if it wasn't for everybody there letting me do that, I probably would have just said screw it and I'm out.
So 7:30, 7:45, you and Ryan left the obstacle to go finish your second lap. What was it like finishing your 6-hour lap at 8 in the morning?
It was weird. I don't think I had spent that long doing 5 miles before. I also had somebody that one of the pit crew members of some of the people we knew. She actually came by and said that I now had the record for longest lap, which felt good and weird all at the same time. But finishing the lap, the obstacles after that, if I can remember correctly, we had pyramid scheme and then Kong. And at that point in the event, the rain was coming down pretty good. Went up pyramid scheme, no problem, not a big deal. Got to Kong, and I looked down at the crash pad, and there was water actually pooling on the crash pad, which I kind of thought was pretty cool, because Ryan had actually just he jumped down to take the penalty, and all the water kind of sprayed up, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But I knew I had to try the obstacle. I would have felt mad at myself if I hadn't tried it. So I almost expected myself to fall going into it, and I was surprised that I completed it, especially after being at Everest for so long. So I was really happy completing that last obstacle, kind of ending on a really two great high notes of helping for all that time and completing that last obstacle.
Did you and Ryan think about like how many people you probably helped over those 5.5 hours?
I think we talked a couple of times that, it had to have been, multiple hundreds of people, or lent our hand hundreds of times, but not really sure how many people it would have been, but I'm guessing a good amount.
Yeah, someone would have to do the math to figure it out, but it's several hundreds, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So after Toughest Mudder Chicago, you ran Tough Mudder on Sunday morning. Tell me about that Tough Mudder.
Yes. It kind of continued the emotional journey for me, because my dad was actually came out to that event to watch, because it's close to home. It's only about an hour, 20-minute drive for him to come out to where the venue is. And just before that, it was the skies had fully opened up. It was a full-on downpour, and I had started getting ready and was handing out roses for an event that I do at the Tough Mudder events called One More Day Above the Roses, where I hand out plastic roses to Tough Mudder Team HQ, to the medical staff, the volunteers, construction crew, all kind of everyone that's involved with Tough Mudder, and then spectators on the side that, we kind of see that we want to hand roses to, other participants, a lot of the friends and family that I have kind of going through there. So right as it started downpouring, I started running around to start handing out roses to people. And then Dad showed up, and it was almost basically time to go right after that. And then the sun came out, and just as the kind of nursery rhyme goes, sun came out and dried out all the rain. There's still a lot of mud and everything, but the course was fairly well trampled from the toughest the night before, but it was still an absolutely fantastic event. Really kind of helped to remind me of the night before and filling my heart with so much joy. And then the Roses event just kind of helped seal that deal. And it went from possibly being one of what could have been one of the worst weekends for me to being one of the best weekends.
Tell me more about the Roses. One more day above the Roses.
So it's actually the title of an Irish song from the band Gaelic Storm. The song is called "One More Day Above the Roses," and the premise of the song is that when you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes and you're alive, to kind of celebrate the day. It doesn't matter if you are sick or if you lost your job or if something bad has gone on, somebody cut you off as you're driving to work, if just things don't seem to be going right your way, or you do have good things going on in your life, whatever it may be, to just take a second to pause, remember it is another day above the roses. It is a good day. Because not everyone gets that opportunity. Not everybody celebrates the day that we get each morning. And it's kind of a healthy reminder of that premise. And when my mom was going through her first bout with the cancer, she was in a rehab center, a strength rehab center. And the nighttime was the worst for her because it was when my dad had to go home because visiting hours were over. And she was always a night owl, or would be up more at night than during the day. And she would pretty much just watch the clock tick by. And it was a rough time for her. Those were the dark times, both figuratively and physically, as they were happening at night. But one of my friends who actually introduced me to Tough Mudder, he kind of reminded me of the song, and I had listened to it a bunch while I was going to visit her one day. And I stopped at a Michael's Arts and Crafts store and got her a red plastic rose and stuck it at the end of her bed when I went to visit her, and told her about the song and wanted her to remember that as she's counting down the seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days, and the hours waiting for that next day, waiting for the sun to come up, to remember that when that sun does come up, it has been another day above the roses. And the significance was a plastic rose, because it will never wilt, it will never fade, it will always stay bright and blooming, and be a presence and a reminder that each day is a great day to be alive, even when you're going through cancer. So we have I've kind of kept that motto ever since. I've done 3 One More Day Above the Roses events. Each one kind of gets a little bit bigger, a little bit more emotionally charged. And this past this past event at Chicago was the most emotional, because my mom just had passed, and also having my dad there. It was actually my mom's. It was our plan that she actually come out for the One More Day Above the Roses event at Chicago, because it was close to home and everything. But she ended up obviously passing away beforehand.
Are you planning any more Day Above the Roses for 2018?
Yep. I will be doing the One More Day Above the Roses event at Chicago again this year. That Saturday or Sunday, but it will be at Chicago again.
Can people volunteer to help you with that, or do you need support getting roses? Is there anything people can do to help out with
that? The only thing that I ever ask from people for that event is help handing them out. I never ask for money or take money for it. The only thing that I ever will ask or accept is help handing them out and spreading the word.
What are your plans for 2018? What does your race schedule look like?
It's pretty packed, pretty similar to 2017. Looking to do anywhere between 27 and 30 events, roughly. And hopefully finishing the year at or above my 100th Mutter.
What number are you on right now?
73.
73.
Yep.
Are you going to try and time it so that World's Toughest is your 100th?
Right now I'm looking at beforehand, but we'll always see how the schedule goes because obviously things happen. The community is well too aware of the cancellations and all that happened in LA, and that is unfortunate, but it's something that we don't always have full control in. So it will be a packed year for me to get my 100th, that's for sure. And with hopefully the weather holds for it, and I can have it happen.
At the Champions Brunch last year, after World's Toughest Mutter, Tough Mudder gives awards to a few members of the Tough Mudder community. This year, you received the Community Award for Fun. How did that feel?
It was a complete shock, actually. It felt really, really good to get recognition for stuff that I had done, even though I wasn't searching for it at all, nor did I ever think that I would receive a community award. Yeah, it was. I was speechless.
So when they called your name,
very grateful.
When they called your name and you walk up, the crowd was just raucous in their applause for you. How did that feel?
It felt fantastic. It really did. There was a lot of emotions, especially when Sean was speaking, and then I can't remember if it was Nolan or Eli was talking and kind of explaining the Chicago event and the One More Day Above the Roses. That got me emotional up there because it's been an emotional time since all of 2017 was, and ever since my mom had passed too.
You and Ryan Cray were nominated by Sue Harvey-Brown and Merrell to win this first Merrell Mutter moment for all that happened in Chicago. How do you feel about that?
I'm speechless. Very, very grateful for it. Was surprised when Sue and you had contacted me about it. For me, it's just me doing my thing and trying to help spread a little bit of cheer, a little bit of joy to everybody, because sometimes life sucks. I know that all too well, and if I can help cheer up one or two or maybe hundreds of people, then that always leaves me with a little bit more joy than it does me trying to bust my ass on trying to achieve a goal.
What is it about Tough Mudder that brings these moments out of people?
I think a lot of it deals with seeing and helping people achieve their best. It's for a lot of people, they've done other things in their life to help people, and it's another opportunity for people to come out and give back and give to others to get them achieving their best, to get them doing their hardest in an event or a mindset that a lot of people don't think that they could do. again, I've learned from many people that I'm now close with how grateful somebody can be when you lend a hand, be it as simple of an obstacle as Mud Mile or as challenging of an obstacle as Everest or even Berlin Walls. There's countless times when they've tried it 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times and they just give up. And to be there with someone and assisting them through their complete mental downfall means the absolute world to them. Maybe it's their first Tough Mudder, maybe it's their first Tough Mudder half, or maybe it's their 25th Tough Mudder or 50th Tough Mudder. It's the thanks, the selfless act that somebody does that can mean the world to somebody. I know that firsthand. As you said, sometimes the shorter statured people aren't always the greatest at helping up Everest. I know that from experience, but also I have a hard time with that obstacle. I can only count on both hands the amount of times that I've actually completed an obstacle completely by myself, unassisted. So I'm very grateful every time I do that obstacle, either with Sin or without him. So I don't just try and do it for other people, but I'm very grateful when people do it for me too.
Do you have anything you like to promote? How can people help with Another Day Above the Roses?
For me, I always I try and hashtag it appropriately for occasional posts on the interwebs, on Facebook and Instagram. But really, it's doing good for other people. So if it's helping somebody with their groceries or just some form of selfless act and just reminding people that there is good in the world. If there's, that it doesn't have to be something huge. And even just, if you see a set of roses, handing a rose to somebody and just, saying here. And if they ask, why, what's that for? Why'd you give me a rose? Just, sun is shining. The birds are chirping. It's another day. It's another good day. We're here. We're alive. We're breathing.
Francis, any last thoughts on World's Toughest Mudder or your Merrell Mudder moment?
I hope to add many, many more to them, and not stop doing what I've come to love doing and helping people.
Francis Lackner, thanks much.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Sue Harvey-Brown and Francis Lackner for appearing in this episode. Well done, you two. If you would like to tell your story, to share your Merrell Mudder moment, send an email to worldstoughestpodcast@gmail.com with MMM in the subject line or Merrell Mudder moment. And in the body of the email, tell your story. What happened to you on that Tough Mudder course? Or maybe you ran Tough Mudder because of something that happened to you off the course, and Tough Mudder was a way to conquer it, or to make peace with it, or to honor it, or honor someone like Francis and his mom. Just tell your story. No pressure. worldstoughestpodcast@gmail.com. We will have a new Merrell Mudder moment every other month as the year goes on. Life is short. We are not promised tomorrow. Go spend time with someone you love.